My name is Jenna. I'm 31. I work in accounts payable at a small digital company where the coffee is bad, the invoices are worse, and the office plants are all dying the same slow death, all except one cactus in the corner by the printer that somehow keeps going. I think me and that cactus understand each other. I'm the older sister, the responsible one, the "can you just help me real quick" person in a family that treats my stability like a public utility. Everyone knows it's there. Nobody thanks it. People only notice it when the power goes out. Every morning is the same. Alarm at 6:15, not a cheerful bird sound, just the default vibration buzz, because any actual tone before 6 in the morning feels like a personal insult. Kettle on. One scoop of cheap coffee in the French press because I'm still paying off a $1,900 emergency dental bill from October. The tooth started hurting on a Friday evening. Of course it did. It's always a Friday evening. While the coffee steeps, I spend 10 minutes with my spreadsheet, payday Friday, rent due the 1st, student loan auto pay on the 8th. Anything left over goes to an envelope marked Car Repair Fund, which has $60 in it and a sticky note that says, "Please don't die." The car heard me. So far. Bus at 7:10. I sit by the window and put my earbuds in, even when I'm not playing anything. It's a social signal that means I'm not available for small talk. True crime podcast that I half hear while I scan faces. Woman with coffee in a thermos she holds with both hands like it might escape. Old guy with an actual physical newspaper. Who still does that? Teenager staring at his phone with the expression of someone watching civilization collapse. Familiar feeling. My building is a 4th-floor walk-up with a buzzer that sticks and a cat named Pinto, who screams like a tea kettle when he wants his breakfast and like a different, angrier tea kettle when he doesn't get it fast enough. I lock my door twice, jiggle the handle twice, check the window once. It's a habit I can't shake. My therapist says it's attachment anxiety expressing itself as hypervigilance about exits. I say it's just lived experience. At my desk by 7:55. My desk sits between 2 air vents. In winter, they blow cold air directly onto my neck. In summer, they don't help at all. Clara, my manager, is always here before me. She's one of those people who arrives at 7:30 looking like she's already had 3 meetings and made several important decisions. Morning, Jenna. Vendor flood today. You good to help triage? Yeah, I say. I'm always yeah. I log into the invoice portal. I answer 3 emails before the coffee hits. 2 of them are marked urgent, but aren't. I flag a duplicate bill from a vendor who accidentally submitted the same invoice twice. I fix a coding error that would have routed a payment to the wrong department. It's the quiet kind of satisfying work that no one claps for until it breaks. And then everyone looks at you and asks how it happened instead of who'd been holding it together. By 10:15, my left eye is twitching. That's my personal stress indicator. More reliable than any app. Sean, my coworker, rolls his chair over with a squeak. He has this gift for appearing exactly when you least want company, but also kind of need it. Vending machine. You want anything? I look at my checking balance on my phone. Not the worst, not the best. There are things I don't buy right now, even small things. Not because I'm scared, just because I learned to count. No, I'm good. He laughs. You and your budget. You and your overdraft fees, I say. He grins and goes. My phone buzzes once with a weather alert. I ignore it. It buzzes again and I glance down. It's my sister, Meg. Her contact photo is her in a bathroom mirror, mouth open, mid-laugh at some party I wasn't invited to. Then it buzzes again. Immediately. Mom. I feel my stomach do that slow drop it does whenever both of them show up on my screen back to back. It's never good. It's never, "we found coupons," or "just thinking about you." It's always something that costs me time, money, or sleep. Usually all 3. I put the phone face down and swallow the rest of my cold coffee. Not now, I tell myself. I try to focus on the invoice in front of me. $2,475 pallet charge from a trucking company with a name that sounds like a typo. Traco Logistics. I don't think that's real. Or maybe it is. I've stopped being surprised. My phone buzzes a 3rd time. I don't look. I answer 3 emails. I do this for almost 10 minutes, which is a personal record of resistance for this particular morning. Then Clara taps my shoulder, gentle enough that I still jump. Quick heads up, the owner is stopping by later. Keep your time tidy. And, you okay? You look pale. Yeah, I lie. Just a long morning. My phone buzzes again. I finally flip it over. Two previews on the lock screen, my name lined up under both of theirs. My chest gets tight. I lock the phone. Go to the break room for water, stand there looking at the empty parking lot through the blinds. Count to 10 the way my therapist taught me. 1, 2, 3. Tell myself there's a rational explanation. 4, 5. Maybe Meg wants recipe advice. 6. Maybe mom found something on sale. 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't believe any of those, but I tried. When I sit back down, I unlock the phone. I open Meg's text. Before I tell you what it said, here's what you need to know about how we got here. Meg was the hurricane of our house growing up. Mom liked to stand outside and feel the wind, thrilled, honestly, that one of us turned out that bright and electric. Dad left when I was in high school. It was one of those gradual leaves that feels slow until it's suddenly permanent. He started coming home later, then not at all on weekdays. Then, once on Thanksgiving with a store-bought pie and a new girlfriend who didn't know how to act and tried too hard. After that, it was just me, Mom, and Meg. Dad still sends birthday money sometimes, not always on the right day, but he tries. That's something, I guess. After he left, I understood pretty quickly that there were two ways to respond to instability. You could become unstable along with everyone else, or you could become a fixed point. I chose the second. Not because I was wiser, I was 16 and terrified, I just couldn't afford the first option. I got a job at 16 bagging groceries to buy my own textbooks. I kept a notebook of hours and tips. I learned early that nobody saves you. You save yourself or you don't. Sometimes someone doesn't say no at the right moment, and that becomes its own kind of saving, but you can't count on that. Meg grew up differently. Bright and slippery and wild, with that thing where people forgive you because you smile when you apologize, so the apology almost doesn't matter. She never had to keep a notebook. Mom always found a way. She got pregnant at 19. Mom said, "We'll manage." Then again at 22, "The Lord provides." Then again at 25. Mom went quiet that time but didn't turn away. 3 kids with 2 different men, neither of whom makes it past the group text or the child support enforcement office. Jaden is 9 Dao, quiet and serious in a way that doesn't quite fit his age. He watches you like he's taking notes. Kira is 6 and stubborn in a way I genuinely like because it means she's got a fighting chance and nobody's going to run over her easily. Tommy is 3 and still believes the world was personally assembled for his entertainment, which, honestly, good for him. They all live with Meg in a 2-bedroom apartment across town. Mom lives 10 minutes from me. This triangle has never felt equilateral. Mom has always tilted slightly toward Meg. I've watched the kids countless times, sometimes because I wanted to. I love these 3, each in their own specific way. A lot of times because I got the "can you please just this once" text at 4:30 on a Friday when there's nothing you can do but say yes or feel like a monster. It was never once. It was never just. It always cost something. There's the money part. Sure. Babysitting when I should have been picking up overtime. Buying diapers because a client canceled and I'm short until Friday. Throwing $50 at her electric bill because of a paperwork delay. 3 times this year. But it wasn't only money. I kept rearranging my life to be the net under their trapeze. I canceled plans with friends. I passed on overtime opportunities. I once skipped a doctor's appointment because Meg texted emergency, which turned out to mean she had a date and needed someone with the kids while she got her hair done. I didn't say anything. I just smiled. I told myself I was doing it for the kids. That part is true. It's also true that I kept doing it because Mom would say, "Don't be hard." We're not like that, and I was so afraid of becoming that. Cold, difficult, someone who makes everything about herself, someone like how I'd started imagining my dad, that I said yes even when everything inside me was screaming. Mom isn't cruel, she loves us, but her love for Meg and her love for me have always looked different. With Meg, her love is protective, bubble-wrapped, cushioning her from consequences. With me, her love looks more like trust, like a hand on the shoulder and a to-do list. Can you drop this off? Can you call the landlord for me? Can you talk to your sister? She thinks she's complimenting me by relying on me. And she's not wrong that it started as a compliment. It just stopped being one at some point and nobody noticed. Last year, after a night where I watched the kids until midnight because Meg's hour two tops turned into five, and I got back to my apartment to find a notice from the landlord about unregistered overnight guests, I hit a wall. Not a dramatic collapse, more like a slow, quiet impact where you realize you've been pressing your face against something hard for a long time, and you just now felt it. I started therapy. I started actually learning what boundary means as a practice, not a Pinterest quote. I told Meg, calmly, clearly, that I needed at least a day's notice before she asked me to watch the kids. Not because I didn't want to help, because I had a life. Meg said okay in that tone that meant she didn't believe me. I told Mom I wasn't a spare parent. Mom said, all right then, and changed the subject. They both figured I was going through something and would go back to normal. To the most convenient version of normal. For them. So that morning at work, with invoices stacking up and the owner coming in and my left eye doing its thing, when I opened Meg's text, I expected something like, can you grab them after school? Or, any chance Saturday? Something I could decline without drama. What I got was this. Left my 3 kids at your door, keys under the mat. We went out of town. I read it 5 times. The words didn't arrange themselves into anything that made sense. We went out of town. Who is we? When did this happen? Where? Why are there children at my door when I'm not at my door and I was not asked? Right under it from Mom. Don't complain, they're family. Meg has a chance to make some extra money today. Be supportive. And another from Meg, apparently sent right after. My phone dying soon. Back tonight, prob, love oo. Prob. 3 exclamation points on love you. 3 children in a hallway. My face got hot and then cold. My brain did that blurry, slow motion thing. I pictured Jaden sitting on the hallway floor with his backpack on his lap, trying to look calm. Kira getting bored and starting to kick the door in that rhythmic way that would drive any neighbor insane. Tommy trying to wedge his fingers under the door because it looked funny last time. It was 10:48 a.m. I live on the 4th floor. The hallway is narrow and doesn't get natural light. It smells like someone's slow cooker on weekdays and carpet cleaner on weekends. I typed, "Are you kidding me?" and erased it. Too aggressive, doesn't solve anything. Typed, "Meg, where exactly are you?" and erased that. She'd already said her phone was dying. Typed just, and erased that, too. Some things can't be fixed with a text. I looked at Clara. She was walking toward the front with her polished smile ready for the owner. I looked at my to-do list. I looked at my phone again. How long had they been there? Had the downstairs neighbor heard them? Had anyone called the super? I called Meg. Straight to voicemail. Calm, automated voice. I called Mom. Jenna, Mom answered on the second ring. What's with the drama? Your sister is trying to better herself. You're always so rigid. Always. Her favorite weapon. I'm at work, I said. My voice was too even. That scared me more than anything. I know that when my voice gets that flat, something underneath is very wrong. Are the kids at my door right now? You have the key. It's under the mat. We've done this a million times. Be a team player. No, Mom, I said. We have not done this. Meg has never left children at my door without asking. I'm not home. Did you know she was going to do this? She told me. I said it was fine. I swallowed. You said it was fine to leave 3 children alone in a hallway? She said they'd be fine. Don't be dramatic. It's a few hours. I hung up before I said something that would echo through every argument for the next 10 years. I called my building super Luis. Luis has managed this building for 12 years and has seen everything. Broken pipes, noise complaints. Someone once tried to bring in a goat for a birthday party. He's unshakable. Luis, it's Jenna in 4C. Are there kids in the hallway by my door? A pause. The sound of him setting something down. Yeah. Little guy, maybe 3, 2 older ones. We brought them into the lobby. They were sitting on the floor up there. Oh my God. Are they okay? They're okay. Little one cried for a bit. I gave him some water. They're in my office with me now. But I can't watch them all day, Jenna, and no unaccompanied minors in the lobby. You know the policy. I exhaled, long and unsteady. I'm so sorry. I'm at work. Give me 10 minutes. You got it, he said. But I need a plan. I stared at my phone. Part of my brain was already running the old script. Grab my bag, call an Uber, take the hit at work, scoop up the kids, buy Lunchables with money I don't have, text everyone, it's fine, I've got them. Familiar song, verse, chorus, next verse. The other part of my brain said, quietly but very clearly, if you do that now, you teach them that your no is only a maybe if they push hard enough and put you in an impossible position. I looked at the clock, looked at Clara's office door, thought about my spreadsheet and the purple color I use for unexpected expense, and how much purple there is in my life lately. Thought about what my therapist said last session. A boundary isn't a wall, it's a door with a lock. You decide when to open it. My phone buzzed again. Text from Meg. I trust you, you always come through. I stared at those words until they stopped looking like words and started looking like individual shapes. Then they came back into focus. You always come through. Not, sorry I didn't ask. Not, I know this is a lot. Just the steady, confident assumption that I would handle it. And somehow that assumption was being used as a substitute for asking. Something in me locked into place. Not anger, exactly. More like a final clarity. Like when you've been staring at one of those optical illusions and suddenly your brain snaps to the other image and you can't unsee it. I typed back to Meg. No problem. Hit send. Hands were steady. I didn't feel calm. I felt like when you finally stop a leak and realize how soaked you've been this whole time. Then I opened a new tab and Googled Child Services, Hotline, Child, left unattended. Found a number, dialed. A woman answered on the second ring, brisk, not unkind. The voice of someone who hears real problems every day and has learned to be both efficient and human at the same time. Child Protective Services intake, how can I help you? My sister left her 3 minor children unattended outside my apartment door. I wasn't home and wasn't notified in advance. My building manager has them temporarily in the lobby. She's indicated she's left town. I'd like to report this and get guidance. She asked questions. Names, ages, addresses. Was there immediate danger? Not right now, I said. The super has them and is with them. How long might they have been alone? Possibly 20 minutes to an hour. I'm not sure exactly when my sister dropped them. She gave me a case number and said, if you can safely ensure they're with a responsible adult, do so. We'll follow up within the appropriate time frame. I wrote the case number on a yellow sticky note and put it right on my monitor, next to a note that said, check Q3 invoices by EOW. Then I called Luis. Can you hold them for 20 minutes? I'm arranging a responsible adult and transportation. You got it, he said. They're eating crackers from my desk. Little guy is calming down. Girl asked if I have a cat. I do, I said before I could stop myself. But he's at home. I texted my neighbor, Mrs. Hall. She lives 2 doors down from me and has been there 7 years. She knows my mailbox code, sometimes waters Pinto when I travel. The kind of person who has seen everything and doesn't ask unnecessary questions. Emergency. Meg left kids at my door without telling me. Can you go to the lobby and sit with them for 20 minutes? I'll explain everything later and pay you back. She called me. Didn't text, called. Good sign. Oh, honey, how many? 3, 9, 6, and 3. On my way. Mrs. Hall, I said, I hate to ask, but is there any chance you could ride with them to my mom's? Mom's home. I can give you the address. 2-second pause. I can do that if it gets them settled. Send me the address. I called a local taxi service instead of a rideshare app because rideshares around here decline calls with young children half the time, and I didn't have minutes to burn on app roulette. Hi, I need a taxi from 314 Westmore Avenue to 22 Willow Lane. Pickup will be a woman named Glenda and 3 children, youngest is 3. Can you send a minivan? I'll pay by card over the phone right now. Dispatcher said, 10 minutes, driver's name is Jimmy. I gave him my card. My stomach did a small clench as I did the math and silently subtracted it from the car repair envelope. Then I told myself, this isn't a cost. This is tuition. While I waited for confirmation, I called Mom. She picked up in that half-airy tone, the tone of someone who knows they did something questionable and has decided not to think about it until confronted. Hey, sweetie. A taxi will be at your house in 20 minutes, I said evenly. Jaden, Kira, and Tommy will be in it. Please open the door. Silence. Then, what? No, you take them. I'm at work. You told me not to complain because they're family. I'm taking you at your word. You're family too, Mom. Open the door. Jenna, don't be like this. Mom, I said, and my voice dropped to a register I didn't know I had until that moment. If you don't open the door, I'll call the police for a welfare check once they arrive. And I've already called child services to document what Meg did. I'm not playing around. Open the door. Long silence. I counted to 6 in my head. Then she said very quietly, Fine, I'll be here. I texted Mrs. Hall. Taxis dispatched. Drivers Jimmy, minivan. Thank you a million times. I can stay on the phone if you want. She replied with a thumbs up. Then, no need. We got this. You focus on work. Clara appeared at the partition edge. Everything okay? No, I said, and I told her in 3 sentences what was happening. Her face tightened. Do you need to leave? I can't afford to, I said, but I'm handling it from here. She nodded. Take whatever time you need at your desk. No lecture, no irritated sigh. I'll always be grateful for that. I sat and waited. Every minute felt like chewing something dry and getting nothing from it. I kept my work window open so I looked occupied. I wasn't. I just watched the clock app timer, thought, I'm doing this. I'm not collapsing, I'm holding the line. 10 minutes in, Mrs. Hall sent a photo, all 3 kids in the lobby, Jaden standing straight, trying to look composed but with eyes a little too wide, Kira holding her stuffed unicorn and staring sideways with that expression she gets when she's evaluating and filing information, Tommy sitting on the floor, building something out of a crumpled napkin. My heart squeezed hard. I typed, I'm so sorry, babies. Deleted it. Typed instead, Mrs. Hall is taking you to Grandma's. Grandma has snacks and a soft couch. Mrs. Hall replied with 1 heart emoji. The taxi arrived ahead of schedule. We're in, Mrs. Hall texted. Little one said taxi rides are an adventure. I smiled. First time all morning. Called Mom. Open the door in 15 minutes. She huffed. I said I would. I pictured her house. The crocheted blankets and beige diamonds, the votive candles on the windowsill, the bowl of fake fruit on the dining room table with 1 apple that's dented from when Tommy threw it last visit. I pictured her opening the door and seeing the thing she'd told me wasn't a big deal, made into a very concrete, undeniable, 30 pounds of children big deal on her porch. My phone buzzed. FaceTime from Mrs. Hall. I answered. The camera showed the front of Mom's house, the little concrete walkway, the yew bushes along the fence that Mom always says she'll trim and never does. The taxi pulling up. The doors opening and the kids spilling out, blinking in the sun. Mrs. Hall's voice off camera, calm and steady. Hold hands, okay? They walked up the path. A little chain of 3. Mrs. Hall knocked. The door opened. Mom stood there with a dish towel over her shoulder. She'd been washing something, eyes already tight. She looked directly into the camera like she could see me through it, like she knew I was watching. This is ridiculous, she said to the screen. I said out loud in my office while Sean happened to roll past and raised both eyebrows. Hi, Mom. Her face shifted. Embarrassment. Annoyance. Then something that might have been shame, though she'd never call it that. She looked at the kids, back at the camera. You're cruel, she said. And I said, steady without anger, no, I'm just not your doormat anymore. Then I said to the kids, I love you guys. Be good for Grandma. I'll call tonight. Mom opened the door wider, stepped back. Come in, she muttered to them, and in the way she said it, there was reluctance, but also something human, something automatic. She is their grandmother, whatever else is true. They filed past her one by one. Mrs. Hall gave each of them a small pat on the shoulder. Thank you, I told Mrs. Hall. Those two words were smaller than what I felt. Any time, she said simply, and ended the call. I put the phone down. That's when my hands started shaking. A delayed reaction, adrenaline finally catching up. I breathed deliberately, in for 5, out for 5, until they stopped. Method from therapy, it works. 2 minutes later, Meg texted, WTF did you do? Mom is blowing up my phone. Then, did you seriously call people on your own niece and nephews? I didn't expect this from you. Then a call. I sent it to voicemail. Not with guilt. For the first time in a long time. Without guilt. I turned back to my work. Actually started answering emails. And felt something strange, like the pressure in my chest had equalized. Like someone had removed a piano I'd been so used to carrying that I'd stopped noticing its weight. The quiet didn't last. It never does with family. At 12:30, Mom called. I answered. What? How could you embarrass me like that? She said, low and heated. Linda from church was here. You know Linda, she comes every Tuesday. She was helping me organize the pantry donations, and those children showed up on my porch like someone ordered them. They're not a delivery, Mom, I said, and I didn't abandon them anywhere. I found them a safe adult and safe transportation to someone who told me not to complain because they're family. So I didn't complain. I adapted. You called the government on your own sister. I documented that my sister left 3 unsupervised minors in a narrow, poorly lit 4th-floor hallway without notifying me. Yes, I did that. You're being dramatic, she said, default setting, like a scratch in a record. Meg had an opportunity. You know how hard things have been for her. What was she supposed to do? Ask me, I said. Ask me and accept whatever answer I give, or bring them to you. Or cancel her plans the way any parent has to when childcare falls through without warning. She said you always help. I used to, I said. And you used to tell me I had a good heart. But nobody ever asked what it was costing. Mom started crying. That specific way she has that always used to send a wave of guilt climbing up my throat. The wave came. I let it rise. Then I let it fall without drowning me. I love you, Mom, I said. But I'm not doing this anymore. Fine, she said, sharpened by tears. Fine. And hung up. At 1:10, Clara waved me over and closed her door. First, I'm genuinely sorry you're dealing with this. Second, your work is solid and you're valued here. Third, she paused. Your sister called the front desk. The blood went to my head so fast my vision blurred for a second. She what? Said you were neglecting your family responsibilities and that we should let you go so you'd have more time for the people who need you. Suzanne at reception asked her to submit that in writing to the official HR address and then ended the call. But, Jenna. Clara looked at me steadily. Protect your work contact information. And I'd review wherever you've listed this number publicly. I will, I said. I felt stripped and furious and humiliated in a way that had nothing to do with anything I'd done. I'm so sorry this touched the company. Don't apologize for someone else making a mess, she said. Take a late lunch. I'll cover the queue. I went outside, walked 3 blocks with no particular destination, ate a granola bar from my bag and didn't taste it, called the CPS hotline back to update. Children are with the maternal grandmother now. Sister is upset and has contacted my workplace. I want this documented. The worker, Ms. Alvarez, had the voice of someone who has a basement full of sandbags and has used them. Good thinking. If she continues contacting your employer, that could constitute harassment. Keep screenshots of everything. Will the kids be removed? I asked, and my voice came out smaller than I intended. I didn't call to get them taken away. I don't want them in foster care. Our goal is safety within the family structure, Ms. Alvarez said. We'll schedule a home visit with the mother. Grandmother is acting as temporary caretaker today. You handled this responsibly. I hung up and leaned against a warm brick wall with my eyes closed. Thought about Jaden's quiet eyes, Kira's stubborn chin, Tommy building something out of a napkin even in the middle of a crisis. I knew this was going to ripple. I knew it. But the stone was already in the water. When I got home that evening, the hallway was quiet. Pinto waited outside my door and started meowing accusations before I got the key in the lock. I fed him, changed clothes, put my phone face down on the table. There was a note slid under my door. One line, on a ripped piece of paper. Traitor. I laughed. It came out mean and sad in equal measure. I called Mom. She didn't answer. Texted Meg. I love your kids. I will not be an unplanned babysitter again. Drop them without asking, and I will call CPS every single time. This is not a threat. It's a rule. Turned my phone off. Put it in a drawer. Microwaved soup. Ate it standing at the counter because my table was piled with mail I keep meaning to go through. At 8, Mrs. Hall knocked. She was holding a plastic bag. Kira left her unicorn in the taxi. Driver brought it back. I took the bag. The unicorn looked up at me with its button eyes. I'll bring it to Mom's tomorrow. Mrs. Hall sat down on my couch like she'd been invited, which, in a way, she always is. You doing all right? I don't know, I said honestly. I feel terrible and also correct. It's an uncomfortable combination. You did the right thing, she said, plain and clear. You didn't leave them on a bench. You found them a safe lap and set a line. Now their mother has to learn to be a mother instead of just the person who generates emergencies. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. Mom thinks I'm cruel. Mom thinks you stopped being convenient, she said. That's not the same thing. Convenient and good are not synonyms. I slept badly. Not from guilt, from my brain running scenarios on a loop, all the things that could have gone differently. In the morning, my phone had a thread from Meg ranging from "please call me" to "you're dead to me" and back to "I didn't mean that." There was a voicemail from Mom in her shaky voice. I don't know who you are anymore, Jenna. At work, I kept my head down, answered emails, ate my sandwich at my desk. Around 2 p.m., Ms. Alvarez from CPS called. We conducted initial outreach. Your sister is not pleased, but she listened. We explained that leaving minor children unsupervised is a form of neglect under state law. We connected her with resources, parenting support classes, and information on subsidized childcare programs. We also visited the grandmother's home. It meets safety standards. We'll monitor. Am I in any trouble? I asked. No, she said. You're in our system as the reporting party and as someone who acted to ensure immediate safety. That's exactly what we hope people do. After work, I drove to Mom's with the unicorn. I knocked. She opened the door like it weighed 100 pounds. Hi, I said. She didn't say hi back. She took the unicorn carefully, like it might shatter. Behind her, the kids were watching something on TV, volume too loud. Kira saw me and launched herself off the couch, stopped halfway when she saw Mom's face, looked between us like someone at a tennis match, reading the room. Come here, I said to her quietly. She came. I handed her the unicorn. She pressed it to her cheek. I can't believe you called people on your own family, Mom said. You had options. I did, I said. I picked the one where I didn't lose my job and 3 children weren't alone in a hallway. You could have warned me before you sent a cab full of children to my house like some kind of prank. You told me not to complain, I said. I took you at your word. Jaden came to the doorway, small and serious. Are we in trouble? He asked. No, I said. You didn't do anything wrong, not one thing. Mommy said you were being mean, he said. Sometimes grown-ups disagree about what's right, I said. I love you. That part never changes. He nodded several times like he was trying to store it somewhere reliable. I wanted to cry. I didn't. Mom rubbed her eyes. Then, without looking at me, take them Saturday. Meg has a hair show thing. You can do that, right? No, I said. It came out even. Mom blinked like I'd shouted something. If Meg wants me to take them, she needs to ask me herself, with real notice. We agree on a time and I'm compensated. Compensated? Mom stared at me. They're your blood. Exactly, I said. And I show my blood respect. I don't treat my own family like a free vending machine. She looked at me the way you look at a stranger on your porch who is calmly explaining something that makes no sense. Get out, she said quietly. I left. Cried in my car for exactly 6 minutes. I watched the clock, blew my nose, checked my balance, transferred $40 to make up for the taxi. Labeled the transaction, lesson, purple category. For a week after that, it was a cold war. Mom didn't text. Meg posted vague things on Facebook about snakes in the grass and when family shows their true colors. I hid her posts. I went to work. I paid my bills. I cooked dinner at home instead of getting takeout, saved $40 that week. I finally signed up for the certification exam I'd been putting off for months because my weekends were never fully mine. Then on Thursday night at 7 o'clock, my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole. Jaden. Alone, holding a manila envelope, looking determined. My heart stopped. I flung the door open. Jaden, where's your... Mrs. Hall appeared from the stairwell, slightly out of breath. He sprinted. I was right behind him. He asked me to watch him do it. I looked at Jaden. He held up the envelope. Mom said to give you this. Inside was a note in Meg's handwriting, messy but deliberate. Fine. Boundaries. Here's the kids' school and daycare schedule. If you want to help, these are the times. If not, fine. Just don't call CPS if I text you like a normal person. Also, I need $60 by Friday. I set the envelope down. Thanks, buddy, I told Jaden. You want some water? He nodded. He came in. He looked around my apartment slowly, methodically, like he was making an inventory of my life. Pinto emerged from under the couch and wound around his ankles. Oh, Jaden said, and crouched down to pet him. Pinto purred. Mrs. Hall leaned in the doorway. He said he needed a win, she said softly. I poured a glass of water. Jaden drank it. Then he said, not looking at me, Auntie, are you mad at us? I crouched down to his level. Never, I said. I'm mad at some things grown-ups did. That's on us, not you, never you. He looked at me. Even Tommy? He was yelling in the hallway. Even Tommy, he was scared. That's normal. Jaden nodded a few times, the kind of nod that means he's filing it away for later. Okay, he said. I walked them back down. At the bottom of the stairs, Mom was standing by the mailboxes like she'd materialized. She looked at Jaden with the expression of someone who feels betrayed but can't quite articulate by what. He studied his sneakers. Don't use them to carry messages, I told her. Don't use the system as leverage, she said back. We stood there looking at each other, that quiet canyon between us. Both of us knowing the distance, neither of us quite knowing how to cross it yet. There's one more thing I haven't told anyone except my therapist. That night, after all of it, after the calls and the taxi and the FaceTime and the workday and Sean asking, you okay? And me saying, yeah, I sat down on my kitchen floor and just sat there for about 20 minutes. Pinto came and lay down next to me. Not on me. Just next to me. Close enough that I could feel his warmth. He does that sometimes when he senses I need company but not noise. I thought, what if I had just taken them? What if I'd run out, grabbed them, bought Lunchables, texted everyone, it's fine, I've got them. They would have eaten. Meg would have come back that evening. Mom would have said, see, that's how it's done. And next week, it would happen again. Month after month, year after year, the same song on a loop. And then I thought about Jaden, about the way he stood in the doorway and asked, are we in trouble? At 9 years old, he already had that question ready. He was already practiced at waiting to find out if the adults around him had caused a problem that would land on him somehow. I didn't want that for him. I wanted him to know, when an adult says something, they mean it. That words mean what they say. That I love you and I can't do this can exist in the same sentence without one canceling the other. I don't know if he'll remember that specific day. Kids don't always hold on to the moments we think matter, but they feel when things are steady and when they aren't. I want to be the steady adult in their lives. Not the convenient one, not the infinitely available one. The steady one. The one who is there when she says she'll be there and who tells the truth when she can't be. 2 months later, Things aren't perfect, but they're different. Different counts for a lot. Meg texts like a person now. Sometimes it's, hey, any chance you're free Saturday 1 to 4? I can do $40. Sometimes it's just, how are you with no ask at the end. I respond honestly. When I can take the kids, I do. When I can't, I say so without a long explanation. She says, okay, and figures something else out. She told me once, in a voice that was half annoyed and half something I couldn't name. That CPS lady gave me a list and a whole speech about child welfare law. I said, good. She rolled her eyes through the phone. But the kids haven't shown up at my door like lost mail since that day. Mom oscillates between wounded and quiet depending on the day, but she also watched the kids 3 afternoons last week so Meg could attend a job training program. She made them tuna casserole and posted a photo with a caption that said, "Family time is the best time," which made me roll my eyes and also loosen something in my chest at the same time. CPS closed the case with a note. Services offered and accepted. Ms. Alvarez told me, sometimes accountability looks like a paper trail, invisible but important. I thanked her. She said, don't hesitate to call again. I hope I never have to. At work, Clara gave me a small raise after I passed the certification exam, the one I'd been putting off for months because my weekends were never fully mine. It wasn't huge, but my car repair envelope now has $140 instead of $60. The car is still running. I thanked it out loud, which Pinto witnessed without judgment. One night, Kira drew a picture of the two of us under a big wobbly heart. At the top, in large letters, Boundary Tree. I asked her what it meant. It means we can climb but we don't fall, she said, with the tone of someone explaining a law of physics. The drawing is on my fridge now, held up by a magnet next to the vet's reminder card and a cookie recipe I've been meaning to try. Mom still says things like, you know I didn't raise you to be cold. And I say, you didn't raise me to be a doormat either. She doesn't have a response to that one. Sometimes she changes the subject to the church bake sale. Sometimes she sighs and calls me stubborn and then goes to make tea and sets a cup in front of me anyway. That's its own kind of truce. I accept the tea. Meg asked me last week, toward the end of a quick call where we were figuring out logistics for a park meetup, did you really mean it when you said you love my kids? She asked it a little awkwardly, like she'd been preparing the question. Yes, I said. That's exactly why I did what I did. She said, okay, and that particular okay sounded different from all the previous ones. Then she sent a photo of Tommy on a slide with a grin so wide it almost went off the edges of the frame. Here's the moral, if there has to be one. Love isn't a blank check. A boundary isn't cruelty. Family isn't a word you get to hide your bad decisions behind indefinitely. You train people how to treat you. I trained mine to climb on my back while I stayed quiet and kept offering my shoulders. I retrained them by putting the kids' safety first and my own enabling last. When my phone lights up now with Meg and then Mom, my stomach still drops a little. Old wiring. But I breathe. I look at my calendar. I check my budget. I decide. I send no, I can't when I can't. I send yes from 3 to 5 when I can. I don't apologize either way. I don't know if Mom will ever say, you were right. I don't need her to. I needed to be right for myself, for my rent, for my job, for my sanity, for 3 kids who deserve adults who mean what they say, even when what they say is no. If you're reading this and you're the responsible one in your family, here's the line I wrote on a Post-it and stuck to my laptop screen after that day. Not my crisis, not my shame. It helped more than I expected. And if you're my sister reading this, lock your door, text me before you make plans, and put the spare key back under your own mat. I'll see you Saturday at 2. I already bought juice boxes and a small bag of popcorn for Kira because she asked last time and I remembered.